My name is Haley, if you did not know, and I love to travel. I will say I'm not a travel expert by any means, but I think over the past couple years I have picked up, some tips here and there and just things that I wanted to share that might be helpful. I think these will be especially helpful if you are kind of newer to traveling and maybe you're planning your first big trip or vacation. So here are some travel tips to have the best next vacation. So first things first, you need to have practical luggage. And I also would suggest investing in good quality luggage. Last time I checked a bag, I went to California and immediately my wheels stopped working as I was exiting the airport. And that became a hassle throughout the whole trip because I was quite literally dragging my luggage across the floor because the wheels were not turning, they would not work. So I would highly recommend investing in some good luggage, especially because it gets really tossed around. It's also just gonna be worth it in the end because you don't have to repurchase a new suitcase, especially if you're gonna be traveling a lot. I wanted to say a big thanks to Monos because today they are partnering with me and they let me pick out a holiday gift bundle. So for me personally, I chose the Overpacker bundle because if you have watched any of my previous pack with me videos, then you know I'm a chronic overpacker. And although I'm trying to get better at it, it's nice to know that I have the option to, bring more things and have them all fit into the suitcase. So this bundle includes the carry-on plus, the check-in large, and then the check-in medium, as well as a pack of 6 compressible packing cubes. I got all 3 pieces of luggage in the desert taupe color, and then I got the packing cubes in gray. What I love about Monos luggage is that it is so lightweight, but yet sturdy. It's also dent resistant and does come with a lifetime warranty, which is pretty awesome if you ask me. I know for a fact that virtually every person in my life would appreciate and also love to receive a Monos product this holiday season. For instance, my mom is actually retiring at the end of the year, and I think the check-in medium would be a perfect gift for her because she is planning her dream Italy trip for 2025, and I know she cannot just do a carry-on, okay? I know. My boyfriend's also going to be graduating from university in the spring, so I think the carry-on would be perfect for him because he is planning a very big Europe trip, jumping from place to place and doesn't really want to check a bag. And of course, my sister, I think, would highly benefit from the large check-in because 1, she is an overpacker, even more so than me, and 2, she is looking at actually working abroad at the end of next year, and that basically means she's gonna have to pack up her whole life. So I think that the check-in large would be a perfect gift for her. All of the Monos products are also sustainably made, which is something to think about when gift giving this season. I personally like to give something that's super practical also, or even an experience. This holiday season, I am also looking for more practical items and also things that I can use while traveling because I am high-key manifesting a trip to Asia by end of 2025. If you do want to check out Monos, I'll put their website in the description below. And without further ado, let's get back to the tips. Okay, I feel like at this point, a lot of people have heard about eSIMs, but they are definitely worth it in my opinion. I used an eSIM for my last 2 trips and it worked out fine as long as you read the instructions properly. I was a little bit confused the first time I used it, but you'll end up also saving so much money, especially if you use the same app. I think even the second time I used it, I already had enough points to get like a $5 discount. They also have referral links, so if you pass those on to your friends, they also get a discount, you get a discount, and it just saves so much money. In the past, I have gotten a physical SIM card, and let me say it was very confusing because I went somewhere where I did not speak the language, they did not speak English, and it was hard to tell what I was even buying or how to set up the SIM card. So highly recommend eSIM. It's also nice because you can kind of set it up before you go, and then once you're there, you just need to turn it on and you're good to go. As we all know, social media can be a great way to find places you want to go on your vacation. So I would suggest if you are traveling with someone to create a shared folder. So if you're doing it on Instagram, you can create a saved folder shared between you and that person, and whenever you find cute photos or places you want to go, you can add it to the folder. This is nice because it helps you think of ideas and places you want to go, but it also helps set expectations. You can kind of see what vibe your friend is going for, like the pictures they want you to take of them, that sort of thing. So I found that very helpful when I traveled with my friend, and I would highly suggest doing that. I think this might be kind of common sense, but when you're searching flights, always use a private browser. Also, if you are able to, look at flying out on a Tuesday because that is typically the cheapest day for flights. Okay, next, I would suggest doing a little bit of research on local foods before you go to the destination. destination, especially if you have a sensitive stomach. My family and I had a very unfortunate experience with butterfish, and if you know what butterfish is, or if you've had it, then you probably know what I'm talking about. I'm not gonna get into the details, but it was a crazy experience, and it could have been avoided had we done the research or had we known. So if you can avoid foods that you know are gonna do something crazy to you, then avoid it. So next one is if you're gonna be using any public transportation while you're at your destination. So a lot of the time you will need to get some sort of card, or if you do get the card, it's usually cheaper. The fares are cheaper. For instance, in Vancouver, we have the Compass card, but when I went to Oahu, they have Holo cards. So if you are gonna be using these cards, there are a couple things you can do because you do end up paying for the actual card itself. So I know when I visited London in, I believe, 2019, and then also I know in Vancouver they do this, you can return the actual card at the end of your trip or whenever you want, and you can get the money back that you used to pay for the card itself. So if you are kind of on a budget and you want to save a few extra dollars, you can always get the card and then return it at the end of your trip. If you choose not to return it, you can also kind of use it as a souvenir. I know my sister loves to scrapbook, so she'll put her cards in there. You can also make use of this if you do know anyone who's just been to that location and they still have the card, then you can always ask them for it if they're a friend or family, and then you don't have to pay for the card or go out of your way to get it. Okay, next one is more so a post-trip thing, but that is to make notes on everything you did or things you liked, didn't like, anything you learned while you were at the location that you think might be important if you did go back. And this is so helpful because one, when that friend of yours asks for recommendations or tips for the destination, then you're fully ready and you can just send that list over. And number two, if you go back to that place yourself, it's really nice to have, because as much as you think you're not gonna forget these little details, I guarantee you are, and you're gonna get confused, especially if you start traveling a lot and going to different destinations. Relatedly, you should make notes when things pop up. For instance, cafes always pop up on my explore page that are halfway across the world, but I've started to take note of these places, especially if it's somewhere I know I want to visit in sort of the near future. I have a little travel doc on Google Docs and I just make note of it in there. It helps a lot because when the time comes for that vacation, you don't have to go through and do all the research. You've already kind of done it, and just makes things a lot easier. So as I said, I put these all into a doc, and I would highly suggest doing that. But when it comes to the time of your actual trip, go through the doc again and decide what is actually a high priority or something that you really want to do, because you have to be willing to kind of go with the flow at some point during the trip. And if you have a huge list of all these places you want to go, it's probably not going to happen and you might get disappointed. So it's always a good idea to decide on what are like non-negotiables and high priority things versus kind of just some ideas of what you want to do. Okay, let's talk accommodation. So one thing I've noticed is sometimes for shorter stays, so a couple nights somewhere, it is better to go with a hotel versus an Airbnb. I've noticed a lot on Airbnb, often the cleaning fees are the same no matter how many nights you stay, which does make sense in theory. But in the situation, if you're only staying 1 or 2 nights, you end up paying a lot more than if you were to go with a hotel. I think also if you are in the place for only 1 or 2 nights, you're less likely to need or want a kitchen because you might want to try the local restaurants. So sometimes it can be a better idea to go with a hotel versus an Airbnb. But again, it's very situation dependent, so don't be set on doing one or the other. So for cheap accommodations, I know a lot of the time we talk about hostels, but another place you can look is at university housing. So obviously this is more for summer travel rather than travel throughout the school year. But in the summer of 2019, when my family and I went to London, we ended up staying at the London School of Economics in one of the dorms. So one, it was super affordable, and then it also had a really good breakfast buffet, and the location was great as well. It had different options, but because we got a bigger room for 4 people, we had our own bathroom. I know there were some if you were just a singular person, if you wanted to do the shared bathroom option. So basically it was like staying at a hotel, but it was way cheaper and also had some nice perks. If you're going somewhere in Europe, the likelihood of going to some sort of monument or museum is quite high, I would say. So if you are planning on doing any of those things, you might want to book in advance. A lot of the times if you book in advance, it's going to be cheaper and also give you the skip the line privilege, so you don't have to wait in line when you get there. Also, if you are planning on going to any museums, you can look and see if they offer free entry any nights. So for instance, sometimes like the first Tuesday of the month will be free, the first Monday, that sort of thing. Or if you are a university student, you can often just get into the museums for free anyway. When I went to Aix-en-Provence, I got into every single museum for free, which was really nice because it saved me a bunch of money and all I had to do was show my student card. Next is a tip that I definitely need to tell myself actually, but that is allow yourself to take a break. While I'm away, I find that my mindset is I need to push myself. I can't go back to the hotel to rest. I need to be doing things to get the most out of my vacation, when in reality that can sometimes make things worse, because then I just feel horrible and I end up not getting the most out of my vacation because I get burnt out. It's also important to think, like, if I was at home right now, would I be going out for the whole day for 2 weeks straight and not rest? And the answer is likely no. So why would I do that on vacation? So that's a tip to myself, but also to anyone who kind of has the same mindset as me. Allow yourself to take those breaks, allow yourself to rest, because it's gonna be more enjoyable in the end. Next tip is to go to a currency exchange rather than doing it at the bank, because typically the rates are gonna be way better. Okay guys, this might seem like a dumb or redundant one, but check your passport expiration date. You might think this is stupid, but I actually do have someone in my life who was all packed and ready, went to the airport for their vacation. When they got there, they get turned away because their passport is expired, and they ended up not being able to go on their trip. So that was pretty devastating for them, and it is so avoidable as well. I think it's more so a problem now, just post-COVID. A lot of people didn't have their passports renewed then. There wasn't a lot of travel. So if you're planning any vacation, even if you think like next year you're gonna go somewhere, check your passport now, because it can also take a while to get it renewed. So it's best just to check in now and do what you need to do so that you can have your vacation and not have all of your dreams crushed and plans ruined. The next thing you're gonna wanna do is sign up for any reward or points programs, either through the airline or the hotel. Your future self will thank you, because once you start racking up those points, you can get free nights at hotels sometimes, you can get upgrades on the plane, and you're going on vacation anyways, so why not reap the benefits? For safety purposes, it's always a good idea to leave your rough itinerary and your contact information, and also a scan of your passport with a family or friend at home, just in case you either lose your passport, get into some trouble, or they need to contact you. It's always a good idea that they know where you are roughly. So this is something that they offer at the YVR airport, aka the Vancouver airport here. I'm not positive what other airports offer this, but this is Express Security. So this is actually completely free, and basically all you have to do is go onto the YVR website before you leave for your flight. You just have to like put in your information, what flight you're on, your name, kind of estimated arrival time. You get a code or an email verification, and then when you get to the airport, you can go through the express lane. I've actually done this in the past, and it is helpful if there is a huge security line, and since it's free, it's kind of like, why not? Why wouldn't I do it? I also think they're not too picky about the time you put in, so if you're like 15 minutes off from when you said you were gonna arrive, you're still good to go. Okay, those are all the travel tips that I have today. Hopefully you found it a little bit helpful, and if you are going somewhere, comment below where you're going. If you're not going anywhere, comment below where you're manifesting to go soon or in 2025. But thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.